Girls of Reddit, how do you know when a guy is genuinely good and not just trying to get in your pants? Story 1. I once met a girl at an outlet mall. We got to talking for a while and eventually got dark and late. I'm kind of a shy guy, so I hesitated a bit, but I asked if she needed to ride to her car. It was a dark and big parking lot, so even if it was interested in her, I also felt obligated to make sure she was safe. She actually said no because she wasn't that far, and I just followed up with her to see if it was okay for me to at least walk her to her car. She said, yes. We got to her car and asked for her number, and she shyly smiled and was like, I got the hint right away and said, I get it, it's cool. Thanks for hanging out, have a great night. Smiled and turned to walk away. I get a few steps and I hear her open her door, but then she goes, wait. I stop and turn and jokes, nope, too late. She laughs and I walk over and we exchange numbers. We dated for 6 months, and sometime during that all she told me how chill it was about being rejected, made her instantly like me. And not in a pity way, she just realized I wasn't going to treat her like crap if she turned me down. Story 2. Hubs and I waited a few weeks to have into our dating relationship, and he said, come over, sleep with me, but no funny business. I just want to sleep with you. So before we were intimate, we just slept together. Knew he was a keeper after that. Even though I felt the boners as I was sleeping, he would discreetly tuck them into his waistband and go back to cuddling me. Huge respect to him. Story 3. If he makes an effort to learn things about me, i.e. things not related to and respects my choices, interests, and passions, it's very rare. Story 4. It might be if and I first got together, we were still teenagers. I got really drunk at a party, my friend bailed on me. I didn't have a ride or a place to sleep that night. He took me to his house, brought me glasses of water and snacks, and didn't even make a move on me all night, even when I slept in his bed in my underwear. We've been together for 4 years now. Story 5. Typically, this is when you're already dating them. If they want but you're not in the mood, take note of their reaction as well as their mood for the next 10 to 15 minutes. 2 of my exes would get annoyed or would sulk and continue to try and find a way to get you to agree. They weren't good guys. Story 6. When he takes the time to really talk to or get to know your family. Guys that just want to hang and bang, don't care about your backstory and your actual life like that. Story 7. When they build a nest out of grass and decorate it with blue plastic, eggshells, stones, or whatever flashy thing they can find. Oh wait, that's bowerbirds. Damn, I wish the human mating ritual was as straightforward. Story 8. You can never know, and I'm not a girl, but my significant other says that you could tell with me because I was the same around her as I was with my friends and her friends. I was respectful to her family, and I had a good career. Even then, there was skepticism at the start, but I just kept hanging out with her, and then we just had one day. It was a good day. Story 9. I remember the first time I kissed my now husband. It was clearly very interested in a relationship with me for a few months beforehand. I asked him what it was he liked about me, and he gave me the most thoughtful, detailed answer with real examples of a time I did something he found sweet or beautiful. I couldn't help but kiss him after that. He's still the best person I know. Story 10. If he remembers little details about you, like your dog's name or your sister's job, i.e. he actually pays attention when you talk. If he remembers the answer you gave when he asked what's up following up with, oh, how did insert thing you did here go? If he makes an effort to talk to you instead of just bugging you to hang out with him, if he doesn't constantly try to steer conversations towards flirting or sexual comments, if he's perfectly fine with you not being able to hang out if stuff comes up, those are some of the things I look for. But then again, I've been fooled before. Trust your gut, too. It's unrealistic to expect a guy to remember every little thing about you, but if he recalls something small, it proves he was paying attention. There are other ways guys can show this, like by asking more specific questions and remembering general facts about your life. If a guy puts effort into knowing you, he's genuine. Story 11. When he does nice things, then doesn't make a big deal out of it, because he's doing it for the sake of being a good person, rather than hoping to get something extra out of it. So like if someone gives you a lift home and doesn't mention it ever again, except to accept or reject monetary payment, quote-unquote, nice guys will give you a lift home and then not let you out of the fuging car afterwards, saying, wow, that was a really nice thing I did for you. What are you going to do for me? Story 12. The night I knew I'd marry my husband was before we even started dating. I knew he'd been interested for a few months, but I wasn't available and he respected that. Never pushed the boundaries I had set. One night I was working a late shift and got ready to leave at about 10 p.m. I'd been dropped off earlier in the afternoon because my dumb forgot to put gas in my car, so it was sitting on the side of the freeway about a half-hour drive away. I called my ride multiple times. Nothing. I called my roommate. Nothing. Called my friend who lived in the same town. Nothing. Sent out texts. After half an hour, no replies. I knew my coworker, now husband, lived in a town between where we worked and where I lived. I decided to call up a guy I barely knew outside of work and hope he was as kind as he seemed to be. 15 minutes later, he was picking me up. Of course, I was embarrassed and beside myself that no one had answered my calls and texts. It drove me to the nearest 24-hour store, bought a gas jug, drove to a gas station, went in to pay for the gas, came out with a cup of coffee too. It was just turning cold out, drove me back to my car, got me squared away and followed me back to the same gas station so I could fill up in case something went wrong. Y'all, I had plenty of money. I'm just forgetful. I stated this multiple times throughout the night. He just kept saying, "You've had a long day, let me help." We got to the gas station, he fills up my tank, and came back out with a pack of the brand of cigarettes I smoked at the time. Neither of us smoke anymore, but that was part of how we bonded starting out. Me? You didn't have to do that? Him? You said you were out? Me? I can buy a pack in the morning, you keep 'em. Him? You know I don't smoke this brand. And hands them to me. We're standing there, having a smoke, wrapping up the night, and I just start tearing up and tell him, "I'm glad you exist." That's been something we repeat to each other now and then to this day. He never brought it up after that, except years later to tell me how pissed off he was that no one came to get me, and to confess that no one had ever told him they were happy he existed, and that he was happy he hadn't decided to drink that night like he normally would have. I hope you two are still happy together. Hey guys, just a little side note, if you like our content and like listening to our stories, please press the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you get updates for future uploads. Now back to the stories. Story 13. OP just got in my pants. He's too slick. His game is too good. Story 14. My boyfriend is awesome at non-sexual affectionate touch. I appreciate it so much. He was from the start. Forehead kisses, side hugs, hand-holding, with no need for a reciprocal blob. Story 15. I knew my husband was a keeper. He had been my friend first, but we lost contact because he had a crazy girlfriend. When we reconnected, she was officially his ex-girlfriend, but I had an emotionally abusive fiancé. He talked me out of it. He helped me get the courage to leave, then he waited for me to heal. I gave him no time frame. I told him that I needed to be single before I made another commitment because he deserved to have all of me and be more than a rebound. Neither of us saw other people. We talked every day. I told him he didn't have to wait, but he insisted. When we saw each other again for the first time, he was an OTR truck driver. IT clicked. We were meant to be. He switched a regional driver. I went back to college. Now we're building our lives. 7 years together. Story 16. As guys are nice to you, nice guys are nice to people that don't want to get anything out of. I also have a theory that nice guys, in the "you should have sex with me, I'm a nice guy" sense, don't realize that being nice is the bare minimum, and thus you have to bring something else to the table. Be funny, be smart, be interesting, hell, be attractive. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't some appeal in aesthetics. But don't claim nice like that's an achievement. You're supposed to be nice. Bragging about it is a sign that you don't understand that, and it's a pretty good indication that it's not genuine. Story 17. I think for some of these guys, it's a matter of how they perceive themselves versus the stories they hear. It's easy to come across horror story after horror story of first dates with men. It's easy to find women complaining about exes. It can make the bar seem artificially low. If these crappy people can get dates, then surely I could get a date and be awesome at it. The guy with no job managed to get a date, claim he forgot his wallet so that you paid for it, and even managed to convince her to give him a ride home. I'm nowhere near as bad as that. I'm a total catch. This girl's ex gaslit her, guiled her into sex, and made her work super hard for him while he was a lazy and selfish slob, and they still dated for over a year? I'm a model boyfriend, and a woman would love to date me if I could date that asshole for so long. Then if they go on a date, they show basic human decency and expect to be lauded for it, completely unaware that they've been comparing themselves to literally the worst. I think it has to do with that phenomenon where people think something is more common. The more they hear about it, no one makes posts, asks Reddit, or if they do, they don't make it to the top, asking about May dates, for example. So these guys end up thinking most guys are shutty, that they are therefore wonderful by simply being not crappy, or not as crappy. I don't know if there are many guys who fall into this category, but it definitely seems plausible. I know it personally stung a one for me when I first tried out Tinder, put lots of effort into it, avoided all the things I've heard women say that it's like in Tinder profiles, tried to follow the best tips and got almost no matches and no replies. I was inadvertently comparing myself to the profiles that women actively dislike, and simply being better than disliked is not really enough reason for a woman to swipe right. Until I made that connection, my self-esteem was pretty damn crushed. I thought my profile would be more desirable than it actually was. It seems pretty realistic for other guys to follow similar logic and view themselves as more desirable than they actually are. This is going to hit someone in the face so hard. Well sad. Story 18. Respects your boundaries. It wasn't until my current boyfriend that I realized my feelings of feeling weirded out by all the guys before him was justified. They always pushed when I expressed hesitation or discomforts. I told my boyfriend it wasn't ready, and he didn't make a move again for another 2 months until I was ready and initiated it myself. Story 19. I used to think that I was kind of obligated to have with cis my boyfriends when they wanted it, just because that was what you did in order to be a good girlfriend. A few of my exes expected sex, so I just complied, even if it wasn't feeling well or was tired or whatever. One day I was really sick, and my current boyfriend was helping me out. I told him that I felt really bad, but I just didn't think I could have sex that night. It looked at me dead in the eye and said, "I don't need to have sex with you to love you." I learned a lesson that night about what a good man is. Story 20. It's generally easiest to tell through how they treat people differently, but seeing them learn about your relationship status is obviously a shortcut, if it's available to you. It's always a bummer when you're having a great time with a group of people and a guy you were hitting it off with, platonically in your view, learns you're in a relationship and immediately starts to ignore you. It always really makes me sad. Not that it happens a ton, I'm not a smoke show or anything. It's like, oh, I guess I'm just not as funny and interesting as I thought it was. That person didn't actually enjoy our conversation, it was just working on a potential lead. It really brings you low as a woman to see that guy continue to enthusiastically socialize with the other guys in attendance after he stopped talking to you upon discovering your unavailability. Story 21. How much effort he makes for contact that doesn't revolve a meeting, i.e. texting about my day, sending some funny article, etc. Of course, this isn't an absolute rule. People are different and some don't like texting. Besides, I can only speak for my own experience. I'm saying that if the person wants to communicate outside hanging out, it's a sign he doesn't just want sex. I'm not saying that he just wants sex if he only texts to set up dates, etc. Story 22. The first time my boyfriend and I hung out, we drank a bit too much, and I ended up staying the night. He offered to stay on the couch, but I told him he could sleep in his bed with me. He never tried making a move, just cuddled all night. He was truly a gentleman, and I couldn't have asked for a better man in my life. Story 23. You know a guy is genuinely good if he has a large anime collection that ranges from figures, manga, DVD sets. If he has a katana, wears a dashing fedora, has a well-kept and well-moisturized neckbeard by Mountain Dew, Doritos, and grease, weighs at least 300 pounds, lives in his mom's basement at 37. Honestly, these types of guys are so much more genuine than a typical Chad trying to get laid. Story 24. Easy. They treat you the same way when the passion starts to decline, and you're no longer tearing off each other's clothes. I know that makes my relationship sound bad, but long-term relationships go through these phases, and both parties are tired or stressed, etc. If your man stands by you, then he's a keeper. Short-term, I suppose, just wait until you know them before you sleep with them. That's not something I've been good at, though. I suppose just don't get emotionally invested in something that has not been properly defined. Story 25. A better question would be about what is good for you given what you want. If you want something simple and sexual, finding a guy who really just wants the same thing is a good fit. A guy who wants a long-term relationship may be a bad fit. Whatever it is that either of you want has nothing to do with whether you are genuinely good or not. I suppose you could look for some general character things like genuinely good could be about having shared values, for example, transparency, consent, and integrity. As a man, I'd look for those things to get my good, genuine potential partner, and then see if we both want the same kind of interaction. Story 26. So my boyfriend and I were friends for a couple of years before we got together. I was dating another guy the entire time. I actually fell for my current boyfriend while dating the other guy. EX was an abusive asshole. I didn't cheat on him, so I regret nothing. It wasn't to me, and very much wanted to date me, but since I had a boyfriend, he accepted that it wasn't a possibility and was content to be my friend. Although I complained about the ex to him all the time, he never once badmouthed him or disrespected our ex and my relationship. And when it got painful for him to be in love with a girl he couldn't have, he didn't take it out on me. He simply distanced himself a bit and let himself heal. He's a good man. When you treat a person with respect and offer genuine friendship instead of just to segue into dating and sex, you actually have the potential to end up with a life partner in a kick-ass relationship. Who knew? Story 27. It's really hard to initially tell Usually I played safe and don't really bring up anything sexual for a while, and if they're the type to really want sex and nothing else, usually they'll start making every conversation about it and almost insisting something happens soon. The ones you stick with are the ones that respect your boundaries and stay friends with you for you, not just your body. Story 28. And my boyfriend and I officially started dating. We had sex that night and ended up sleeping over. Before a single piece of clothing left in my body, he made eye contact with me and said, "If at any point you feel uncomfortable, tell me to stop." And tell you what, that was the biggest goddamn turn-on of my life. Been together about a year and a half and live together now. Story 29. Watch his behavior. A genuinely good guy will invest his time in you. Even if he's been busy, he'll reach out to see how your day was because he cares. Want to learn things about you. It won't be superficial facts. He wants to know about who you are, your hopes, family, the things most important to you. Supports you. You will want to know your hopes, dreams, and ambitions. For example, you need to study and there's a party he wants you to go to with him. If you tell him your studies are more important, he won't pressure you or guilt trip you for not going. Show you off. He'll want to go on dates, post pictures with you, tell his friends and family about you. He doesn't want to confine you only to his apartment or bedroom. Engages in meaningful conversation. He'll try to connect in more than just a physical level. You'll be intellectual and emotional. A lot can also be said from a guy's language. Listen for the way he speaks. Does he say you're beautiful or puts you down, you should do more squats, or only talk sex about your looks? Watch his eyes. There's a difference between a loving look and a lustful look. Keep in mind that everyone has flaws and nobody's perfect. To expect anyone to complete a checklist on a daily basis is excessive. We are human, mistakes happen. But with a genuinely good man, it won't be an everyday occurrence. He will care and always strive to improve. These are just a few differences that I've noticed about the players and the man who treats me like a princess. Hope it helps you. Best of luck. You'll meet your Prince Charming. Story 30. I think there's an aspect to this that a lot of women don't seem to understand about guys. It's not as black and white as trying to get into your pants versus not trying to get into your pants. If a guy is single and heterosexual and you're at least moderately good looking to him, odds are he would be very happy if you suddenly wanted to have no strings attached sex with him. That doesn't mean him showing interest in you or wanting to talk to you is him actively trying to get into your pants, even if he finds you attractive. Does that make sense? I have loads of female friends that I find attractive, who I like spending time with and talking to as human beings like any other, who I've never actively tried to hit. But if any of them suddenly felt like having sex with me, I'd totally be game. Story 31. With my current boyfriend, I knew it was when he invited me to meet his best friend. His best friend is old enough to be his dad, but they trust each other so much. They help each other with racing, and they're very close. Another sign was when he would tell me what people would say at work. His coworkers would joke about me or ask about me, so that meant they knew about me. And he talked about me. That's a huge sign. Story 32. Reputation. Is he known in that friend circle for being a player? Stage in life. Does he talk about settling down with someone? Does he associate that someone with you? Personality. How does he behave around his close friends? What do they talk about? Does he keep his promises? Previous relationships? Does he have previous long-term relationships? Did he have stages of one-night stands? Cheating history. Did he ever cheat before? How does he respond to your needs and wants? If you're allergic to some food, does he avoid bringing that food near you? If you're sick, is he by your side? If you want to see him more often, does he make an effort to compromise? Story 33. Respecting your boundaries. When I first started dating my boyfriend, I was really uncomfortable with the idea of sex as a result of my phobia of pregnancy and school teaching me that any sex will get me pregnant somehow. So when I told my boyfriend that I didn't know if I'd ever be able to have sex with him, he told me that he'd be okay with that. In fact, when I became more comfortable with it, he made sure that I wasn't just lying to him because I knew sex was important to him. Obviously, my situation is very different and extreme, but if something is off the table sexually and a guy respects that, generally he isn't just trying to get into your pants. Story 34. When they actually want to hang out with you, as don't drop all plans because they guys are now going out. Also when they invite you to do things with their friends because it means you're a friend and a girlfriend, if that makes sense. Story 35. I know this has been said a couple times, in a couple different ways, but for me the biggest thing is respecting boundaries and not making you feel guilty for saying no. My boyfriend and I started as purely a hookup. We met online and had talked explicitly about everything we wanted to do to each other when we finally met in person. When I got to his place, he made sure to ask if he could kiss me and continued to check in throughout the date. He instantly respected any boundaries I had, and there was no argument, no pushback, and no guilt. Another thing, he made an effort to make sure I felt safe. Before we went to his apartment, he was the one who suggested we meet in public first. This was all such a radical change from any other I had had before. Story 36. Learned this from my mom. There are a lot of signs a guy is genuine, like paying attention, offering to help out without bringing it up again, etc. But a pretty foolproof thing is to look at how that guy treats the other women in his life. The problem is, if he's sexually romantically interested in you, he's going to treat you differently. So look at how he treats his mom, his sister, his ex, especially his mom. A man that is healthily affectionate and respectful towards his mom, not too much, should know enough to treat you well a couple years down the road when he gets tired of you. Also, personally, I always look for guys that can respect my need to spend a lot of time alone. Story 37. They treat you with respect from the very beginning. Had a friend in a group of friends who didn't pay much attention to me. He wasn't very polite either. As this group of friends was all male and I was the only woman, I was constantly interrupted when talking and my opinion never mattered. So, just the usual. This is why you don't make friends with men, ladies. I all changed when I dyed my hair blonde and lost weight. Suddenly, I could get a sentence in a conversation, doors weren't slammed in my face. I was invited to functions rather than just tagging along. I was a person. Date someone who sees you as equal from the moment he meets you. Story 38. At first, I think you just have to see whether they keep hanging out with you repeatedly in public even though you haven't slept with them yet. If they back off after sex, that's bad. If they keep doing nice stuff, that's good. Truthfully, I had no idea whether my now boyfriend legitimately liked me until about 2 months in, when he came over to clean the apartment I was moving out of and carry heavy stuff, then sent flowers to my new place, which was inconveniently far away from where we met, and he still lived. He was very quiet and nonchalant for quite a while, but he just kept showing up. He was also like the only human being my dog liked right away. This surprised me, because my dog is small and insecure and my boyfriend is large, but they just vibed. Story 39. Just the fact that he wants to spend time with you, whether it's going out, hanging at their place, etc. If he just wants to see you no matter how fun or boring it is, he's not concerned about having sex and rather getting to know you. Story 40. When he refused to try to get into my pants while I was newly separated, alcohol dependent, and literally begging him to me. He just wanted to take care of me and had none of his own interests at heart. Story 41. I found a really good checklist to be. Is he trying to elicit a specific behavior or response from me, or is he being sincere? Is he focused on how this situation affects him or how it affects me, the people around him? Example. I've had both good guys and nice guys tell me they had feelings for me. The nice guys said, I just don't understand why you won't go out with me. Like, what else could I do? You're the perfect girl for me. You don't know how hard it is to see the perfect person for you and not be able to have them. The good guys said, since we're friends, I think I owe it to you to be totally honest and tell you that I've started developing feelings for you. You don't have to reciprocate or say anything right now. I just wanted to be upfront so things don't get weird later. Story 42. When he shows a genuine interest in spending time with you, regardless of what you're doing. When I first started dating my husband, he took an hour-long train ride to be with me while I babysat my 1-year-old nephew. And it was his idea. I was genuinely confused as to why he wanted to, but he said he just wanted to spend time with me. Good guy. 8 years into marriage and he's still a good guy. They are out there. They're just not easy to find. Story 43. When he shared his dorkiest, weirdest, uncoolest interests and ideas with me, and when he asked me to share mine. You don't make yourself vulnerable like that unless you're trying to build a real connection. Story 44. My husband was the first guy I ever went on a real date with. On said date, it started raining while we were taking a walk outside, and he took off his jacket just to hold it over me. Before that, I thought real dates didn't actually happen anymore. He's always been the kindest and gentlest man I've ever had in my life. Never judges me or puts me down in any way. Even when guys are trying to act like they care to get in your pants, they are terrible at it and end up saying or doing something degrading. Story 45. They do nice things for zero reason and refuse to accept any sort of compensation after a favor. My current boyfriend has been told by repeated sources amongst our friends group that he will become a saint when he dies. Even before we were together, he has gone out of his way to make me feel better or help me out, has driven me places, including a full hour-long trip to another city, has come over with pizza when I posted on social media I felt like shit, and has repeatedly done little things, hugs when anyone feels down, genuinely asking how he can help, remembering favorite flavors of soda and bringing them to meetups, that sort of thing. I've also never ever seen him angry, not fully. Disgruntled, yes. Annoyed, yes. But never truly angry. He's learned how to control and release his anger in a way that isn't painful to himself or others. I'm so goddamn lucky. Story 46. When he is genuinely friends with you first. Also, you can test if he is the type to overstep your boundaries by simply saying no to some of his suggestions for plans, etc., and noting how he reacts. If he reacts negatively, it's likely that he views you as an object rather than a person, and sees your opinions, etc., as an annoying inconvenience. Story 47. When you are uncomfortable with something and he drops it. Bonus points, if he reads my body language to tell if I'm uncomfortable rather than me having to come out and say it. Story 48. Not a girl, but I met my girlfriend this way. I actually was really interested in really helping her in the class where we met. She was struggling at first, but I genuinely wanted to help her get the subject and like it. She told me later on that she could sense I wasn't helping her to just get in her pants, and that was attractive to her. Story 49. When they give you exactly what you told them you wanted. When I met me now husband I want looking to date and said we would just hang out. He was cool with that and we just hung out. Then he got really drunk at a party and told me he really liked me a lot, and I got all embarrassed and kinda shunned him for the night. In the morning, after he slept it off in the yard and then his car, he told me he gets it, I'm not interested and he would leave me alone if that's what I wanted, and he did. After a few days I realized I was being dumb because he was cool and respectful of me and my wishes, and I called him up. We took it slow at first, but I eventually was the one to take it to the next level because he left that up to me to decide. So yeah. He gave me what I said I wanted, then I didn't want that anymore, I wanted him. Story 50. It's kind of the ultimate purpose of dating. Even Tim Tebow is looking to score eventually. He just plans for it to be on his wedding night. The longer he's willing to wait, the more likely it is he's genuinely good, for 2 reasons. First, if he wants a cheap score, he's more likely to go for the low-hanging fruit than invest an excessive amount of effort, although a dirtbag might like the challenge, so it's not a guarantee. Second, and more important, the longer you know someone, the higher the odds they break character if they're fake. At some point they slip up and they're busted. Story 51. One of the best tells for me when I met my boyfriend is that he took things aggravatingly slow for me. I had to make all the first moves, sitting closer and closer to him until he had no choice but to put his arm around me, first kiss, etc. I was actually afraid that he wasn't interested for a while. But he told me later that he was just so nervous around me and he usually wasn't around girls. A little bit farther into the relationship, when I was still suspicious, it was the little things, like a lot of people have said, that made it evident. He wouldn't just say nice things, compliments, but he would actually do nice things, and usually guys who are faking being nice won't actually put in the effort to do things. They'll just schmooze with words. He would write little notes and stick them around my room, bring me a smoothie before class, drive me to class if I needed a ride, etc. Basically, actions speak much louder than words. Story 52. Good is not the same as not going after you to have sex with you. For being genuinely good, I would say watch how he treats his family, your family, and people of low value to him. Customer service, kids, pets. For not just trying to get in your pants, the only for sure way I know is if I aggressively pursued him. I asked my current boyfriend on a date, made the first move, etc. I wouldn't be shocked if other guys did only want to have sex with you. Also, you could give a front of only waiting till marriage, but that's deceptive and might make some dudes pursue you harder. Story 53. My girl was so skeptical of me. But I eventually won her over because 1. I didn't lie or hide who I was. 2. Genuinely told her all my intentions and interest in her. 3. Never changed who I am to others versus her. Needless to say, even though we boned, I still acted as if she was the most important person in the world, but gave her the space she needed. Nice guys never actually win because they only think action wins the girls over, through genuine action and interaction. Story 54. This is what my wife says. Action is sexy. When we started out, she told me that she'd be bad for me, that I didn't really want her, that she'd mess me up. I told her I was a big boy and that I could make my own decisions, thank you very much, and that I wanted her. We've been together for 25 years. Story 55. I want to have sex with maybe one boy out of 200. I know him when I see him. The average boy will talk to me, joke around, discuss issues, and provide a novel viewpoint. The ones who want in pants will act very interested, want to hang out, even though they do not agree with or find value in my viewpoints, and generally don't talk about anything interesting, despite never shutting up and always wanting to talk more. I know if I'm not getting anything out of the conversation, they aren't either. There's no intimacy in the discourse, just interacting with a pretty girl. If we are having good conversation, and they do want in my pants, they either keep it to themselves and we continue to enjoy a working relationship, or they stop talking to me, plain and simple. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check out this next video. The YouTube algorithm really thinks you like it.